staring at the allocation chart on your white paper, and you're wondering to yourself, how do you actually slice the pie? Here's the truth. Token allocation isn't just numbers game or design exercises. It's your project's economic DNA. A poorly thought out allocation can break everything, including misaligning incentives, early investor dumps, community distrust, and even regulatory risk. So today, we're going to walk through how to design a token allocation model that supports long-term growth, earns community trust, and builds a resilient ecosystem. Before you start assigning percentages, take a step back and ask yourself, what does each group of token holders want? And what are they giving in return? Let's break that down. First off, users and community. They want access, rewards, and a sense of ownership. In return, you get usage, network effects, and growth. Then you have builders and developers. They want funding and support. And in return, they bring ecosystem diversity and tools, and more users. Then comes the private investors. Just like any others, they want financial upside and liquidity. In return, they provide critical early-stage capital, momentum, and potentially key connections. Now, in terms of validators and nodes, they want fair compensation for the contribution to network stability and security. And last but not least, the core team, meaning you and your co-founders. Now, obviously, you guys want success and a meaningful stake in it. And rightfully so, since you've spent months, if not years, building the damn thing. Now, to bring it all back, this framing matters because allocation equals incentives, and incentives are what drives behavior. Now that you've mapped out who matters and why, let's look at the standard allocation buckets and how to use them effectively. First up, the public sale bucket, aka the ICO, IDO, IEO, and even launchpads. The purpose? Fundraising, community access, or price discovery. Typical ranges of this bucket can go anywhere from 5 to 50%. Some things to consider when deciding on this allocation would include how much capital do you actually need? Is your product ready or pre-revenue? Are you launching into a bull market or a bear? Public sales can build momentum fast, but they also bring scrutiny and a whole lot of expectations. Next up, the private sale bucket, or aka early investors. This would include early believers who take on risk when few others will, no matter if it's institutional, VCs, or angels. The purpose is obviously to accrue early capital and momentum, sometimes before you've even done the work. Typical ranges here can be from 10 to 20%, depending on your current cap table. It is very much worth noting that you shouldn't over-allocate here. Too much investor weight equals centralization of your tokens and sell pressure. It is important for you to remember that your public sale and your private sale token allocations very much depend on the fundraising trajectory you took to build the project. So make sure to reference projects with similar funding sizes and routes to ensure correct allocation amounts. Okay, next up, we have the team and advisors bucket. The purpose of this bucket is to align long-term contributions with upside. Typical range include anywhere from 10 to 20%. The pro tip here is that team tokens shouldn't unlock before the communities or the investors. You gotta earn it alongside the ecosystem. But we'll get into more of it when we talk about token locks in just a bit. Okay, now let's talk about the community and ecosystem bucket. This is your heartbeat. Staking rewards, contributor grants, airdrops, incentive mechanisms. The typical range for this should be especially big in most cases. 30 to 50% should serve just fine. Now the purpose? To ensure decentralization, adoption, and resilience to your project. The bigger your community share, the more ownership is spread out, which is key for governance, loyalty, and trust. Lastly, we have Treasury and Reserve bucket. This is controlled by the foundation or DAO and is used for strategic partnerships, hiring, emergency responses, and such. The typical range can be from 10 to 20% with flexible slow release schedules. Do note that this is your safety net, but also your project's future runway. Now, these standard buckets are a great starting point. But what really sets a great token design apart is how well your unique incentive mechanisms matches your product model. Here's what that might look like. For DeFi, this can be liquidity mining, volume-based rebates, token rewards for usage. For GameFi and creator economy, this can be play to earn or create to earn, seasonal token emissions tied to content drops, or dual token models tying governance with in-game rewards. For DAOs, this can look like retroactive rewards, contribution-based bounties, or reputation-weighted voting. Here are some real-world examples. Curve, for example, has heavy reward incentives for liquidity providers. Filecoin gives token rewards based on actual storage provided. Optimism does retroactive public goods funding. The point is, your token should reward contribution in your own unique way that ties into the growth of the overall ecosystem. So simulate your reward model like you would with an MVP. Ask yourself, can we sustain rewards if the token price drops by 80%? Is there enough real utility to hold this token? Are we creating long-term users or just short-term extractors? Early incentives are fuel, but eventually you'll need real food. Therefore, you should design for that transition. Now that we've talked about the sweet benefits for your token holders, let's get into lockups and vesting. This is essentially your first line of defense against absolute chaos. Now, to quickly get a couple of definitions out of the way, cliffs is a period of time when no tokens are unlocked. Linear vesting is when tokens are gradually released over, say, a couple of years. Milestone-based vesting, which unlocks tokens when goals are hit, like governance activations or usage milestones, and many more. Best practices for most projects can look something like the team having a 1+4, which is a 1-year cliff with 4 years of vesting, and private sale investors having a 1+3, which is a 1-year cliff with a 3 years vesting. And last but not least, community rewards being driven by monthly emissions or usage-based unlocks. The very popular Ethereum Layer 2, Optimism, for example, employed a 1+3 model with a 1-year cliff followed by a 3-year linear vesting period for both of their 17% investor and 19% core contributor token allocations. It is important to remember that proper vesting builds alignment. It rewards participation, not the proximity to the cap table. So, design and negotiate carefully. Now, let's cover a few red flags. These kill projects all the time. Red flag number 1, no real utility. Token exists only for hype, not usage. Red flag number 2, misaligned incentives. Team or investors unlock too early and community gets the scraps. Red flag number 3, token allocation is too complex. If users don't understand how to earn or how to spend, they won't even bother. Red flag number 4, a one-sided loop. Everyone earns, but no one spends. No sinks equals no value retention. Avoid these. Test your assumptions, and above all, design for clarity. Here's an important tip. Once you've built your model, you need to communicate it clearly. Use pie charts or bar graphs. Include timelines with unlock schedules. Publish your rationale in your white paper and pitch deck. And most importantly, explain each allocation in plain language, not just percentages and jargons. Remember, transparency builds trust for your community, from investors, and even from regulators. All right, to wrap it up, let's be honest. too many founders start by slicing up the token pie without understanding what the pie is even for. Don't simply design your allocation to check boxes. Design it to empower people to build a vision with you and have contributions in return for real ownerships. So before you allocate tokens, ask yourself this: what real value is being created here? And how can our token amplify, reward, and sustain that same value? And lastly, make sure to stay transparent about your process. It is too easy to piss off users or regulators these days. Alright, now that's it for the token module. A big congrats on making it this far, and I'll see you in the next one.